Hi, my name is Angus Ho with Daddy Dat, a part of the Ash Management Group. I want to show how you can budget as a full-time engineer, make real estate investments, and live an exceptional family life as a dad. So, come along with me in this journey of wealth. One of the biggest issues with tenants is the excuses. Dealing with excuses is an art, and listening to what they're saying will be a huge indication for you to prepare your response. Things like my work vehicle is no longer with me can be a huge indication that they lost their job and won't be able to pay rent. Also, be very aware of people saying they are fighting in court right now with my last landlord because he took all my damage deposit. Don't laugh these things off because they probably will damage your house and they know the system well. So, in this video, I want to go over some of the best excuses many landlords have heard. Then I will go over my reaction to them and what these excuses may mean to me. By ignoring these excuses, it will lead to bigger issues like it will happen the next month. This will then lead to more complaints, which will incur larger bills. Then, to get the money back because the tenant is unable to pay it back, will lead to larger consequences like going to the courts. Tenants love to test their landlords, and most will allow it. My thought is that if one landlord allows rent to go unpaid, then the tenant feels like it's okay to do it to the next landlord. The puck has to stop with someone. The first excuse I got is, I'm saving for a down payment. This one actually is so funny because it sounds like they were drunk. It's just funny to me that they know that they have the money to pay rent, but they decided to hold it back to save money for a down payment. Personally, this excuse has no intelligence to me and they're just purposely trying to avoid paying rent. I would probably just show up at the house and make sure things are in order and force the rent payment. Or if they don't have the rent, just charge them late fees and move on with it. The next excuse is, can't pay rent because we rented a clown for the kid's birthday instead. I'm laughing so hard reading this. I guess clowns were their priority at that time. They themselves sound like a clown right now. I guess people don't know about things like budgeting and how to prioritize their money. This one is another poor excuse to not pay rent, and I would charge them late fees immediately. The third excuse I got is, on January 2nd, I'm just driving from BC. Roads are very slippery. I do not feel safe e-transferring until I return. This one is funny as well because that is such poor planning for the tenant. I mean, could you not have transferred that money one day earlier? It goes to show that tenants are not always the brightest. Since he didn't pay on the first, I would give him 2 hours to pay and then late fees will apply. Within 2 hours, I'm sure he can find a town or rest stop to pay the rent. The fourth excuse I got is, we don't have any money right now for rent. We'll be 2 weeks late. And then 48 hours later, hey, come check out our new car. Oh my goodness. I mean, sometimes I think tenants are self-incriminating. At this point, my question to the tenant would be whether they used my rent money to buy that car. Well, the answer is no less than obvious. 2 weeks late to me also seems like it's a very long time as well to pay rent. In 2 weeks, that's normally when I evict the tenant. The fifth excuse I got is, I spent it all on hookers and blow on the weekend. Can I have till Friday to pay it? I found this one funny as well. It's like a double whammy of irresponsibility. First, they can't pay rent. Second, they spent their money on hookers. and drugs. I mean, if this tenant was caught using it at my property, automatic eviction. Either way, this tenant has no good excuse to pay rent on time, and I would apply the late fee right away. The sixth excuse I got is, you should knock money off the rent because it was really cold in the house for 2 weeks. Then the landlord asks, why was it cold in the house? Well, when your plumber left, he left the little door under the house open. Landlord responds, why didn't you close it? Oh, I don't know. It was minus 30 below though. I just found this one funny as well, because the thought process for tenants isn't always complete. They will find any reason to reduce or not pay rent. Sometimes you just need to question their happiness at the house and whether or not they want to stay. Rent reduction over a door being opened when they can easily close it is not enough for a rent reduction in my eyes. The seventh excuse I got is, you can't prove we were smoking in the house. The only reason you saw weed around is because we were making shatter in the shed. Personally, I have no idea what shatter is, but with the help of Google, shatter is a form of cannabis extract that has become increasingly popular in recent years. I just questioned the legality of the tenant's statement. He needs to use an illegal substance to create another form of illegal substance for sale? I don't think any of it makes it legal. Maybe a loophole is in there. Regardless, this landlord called the police, they were charged, and they were evicted. This is another perfect example of self-incrimination. The eighth excuse I got is, my dog had her puppies on your rent check. It was a no pet unit, breached and evicted. This one is an interesting excuse because it's hard to say how true this is. Just because it ended in an eviction to me, I would say this excuse is pretty rude. I mean, it's not that hard to write a new rent check. Also, I would like that the tenant have treated all checks like money, where it would be in a safe location. In my mind, they use these checks like newspaper. Since it ended up in a breach of contract, I think this is the right way to go. Ultimately, this is a good case where one small thing being let go can build to a bigger issue like being evicted. The next excuse is about getting tattoos. He's telling the landlord about how he wants to get customers into his house to do business. Most rentals won't allow business to come through as that increases traffic, disturbs the neighborhood, and customers can damage the property as well. It's just funny at the end, the applicant thinks that the landlord is against tattoos, which isn't the case. To me, it's best to know about these things as early as possible. That's because you don't want to be questioning what they are doing in the middle of the tenancy. That will just lead to more asking questions, and then that's almost like the landlord stirring up trouble, and then the tenant will stir trouble back, and at the end of the day, it's your rental property, and there might be a good chance of it being trashed. The last excuse is, when told that rent was overdue, our tenant replied, "Who is this?" I thought this one was funny as well, almost another drunk text. When asked about rent, I don't think there is anyone else asking for rent, other than your landlord. Well, unless this tenant owes money to another landlord, clearly this tenant isn't going to pay on time, and a late fee should also apply. Most of these excuses, if you haven't noticed, is paying rent on time. 66% of the time, your tenants will not want to pay rent. So if you're going to rent for the long term, there are two things you need to do. The first, and the obvious first, is carefully vet your tenants with credit checks and a good full-time job. The second is to have a process in place to deal with it every time this occurs. No matter what you do, real life will always take precedence, and both of these to-do things will have exceptions. If an exception was to occur, what you can do is smash that like button. That's right, the like gods will bless you with an answer and all your problems will go away. In all seriousness though, every case can be a little different. And if you have any further questions, make sure you join the many others at the Daddy Facebook group and hopefully you can find a solution. If you do this correctly and handle all your tenants' excuses, you'll ensure that your mortgage on the house will be paid. That way, you can build wealth quicker. At the end of the day, it's all about reaching the dream goal faster. Whether it's that dream house of that mansion you've always wanted, fly to Australia and live with the kangaroos, become financially independent and retire early. Whatever it is, make sure you follow these helpful tips to get where you want to be. As always, until next time, thanks for watching. If you like to hear more budgeting, engineering, or real estate tips, please leave a comment down below on what you want to hear. Smash that like button, subscribe button, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to know when I post new videos every week on Mondays and Thursdays. From the Ash Management Group, this is Daddy Dat saving you money.